We are live. Welcome. This is Senate Transportation. It's Thursday, April 18th, and we have the Civil Air Patrol here today to talk to us about their program and how that's connected to the stadium and our work here on the Committee of Transportation. So you can introduce yourself and let us know what you want.
Thank you. I'm Scott Lau. I am the I've got two hats I wear. One is I'm the Government Relations Advisor. So I am your point of contact for the Vermont wing for Civil Air Patrol. But I'm also the Director of Aerospace Education, which really is what I want to focus on in this meeting. Very specifically, I want you to be aware of the importance of airports to us, but also the fact that we will be doing a lot of outreach and public outreach in the areas of aerospace education. And I will come back to that. But first, I want to acknowledge I've got three of our cadets here today. I'm hoping to have them speak individually and introduce themselves. We just came from the House Committee on Economic Development, and I introduced these three stars here as the workforce of the future. And that's what Civil Air Patrol does. We're very well known for search and rescue, but my part of it is to really focus on the workforce of the future. I support the cadet programs and our rather extensive aerospace and STEM outreach program. Also want to add that there is a congressional requirement that Civil Air Patrol, the entire organization, is required state by state to make a report to Congress. And so that happens in the first week of, usually last week of February, first week of March. And that's what this, the handout I gave you, that's what this represents, is our national presentation, our national report. It is, I should also add that, back up a step or two, I'm the first government relations advisor for Vermont. Prior to me, the wing commander has taken on the responsibilities, and you can only imagine the load the wing commander has only to have this load added to it. So a few years ago, our wing commander at the time, Colonel Ann Breckbuell, assigned me the task of having to be my full-time gig. And one of the things that COVID really kind of put a dampener on expanding the program. This is the first year that we're doing face-to-face in Montpelier. I'm also very proud to say that it's also the first year that we sent a delegation of cadets, of course with adults accompanying them, but a delegation of cadets to do the presentation. And also, for a lot of firsts here, the first time in our history, all three representatives showed up for the meeting. Unheard of. I mean, they're busy. I mean, it's DC, right? Which is expected. But usually they send one of their aides to do it. We might get one or a photo op or something. All three were there. It was very, very exciting, very rewarding. Now, this is the Vermont wing report. We also give this to, as part of the package we give to DC reps, is this, and it gives you kind of a snapshot of who we are or what we're doing. The cover story, of course, is how do we really help out this year, or last year rather, and of course the flood was a big one for us. As it was happening, we had aircraft in the air doing surveillance of aerial photography for the governor and for FEMA right as it was happening. And that's one of the big examples of what we do in the emergency services side. Brief history I'd like you to know about is that the most common questions I get is, are you Air Force? Are you National Guard? And the answer is no. We are, the Air Force includes us in their circle of units. So you've got the regular Air Force, Reserve, Air Guard, and we are what's referred to as the humanitarian wing of the Air Force.
You get funding through the Air Force?
No, we do not. We get funding from you guys.
Right.
And
through which department? Do you know where?
So far it's been a grant.
From what? Who is it? Does it go directly to you, or is it funneled through some agency?
You say you guys too, is it?
Oh, I'm
state.
The state?
Yeah, I gotta stop doing that. This is not my wheelhouse,
No.
but I know that our wing applies to a grant to the state every year. In fact, it's the 60,000.
Right, I just wondered if it was transportation, do you know? Sarah?
No, unless it's,
Do you know who the money?
unless it goes
from?
through the military. Would be-
Yeah, I don't know if it's part of the military, but.
I thought it was through appropriations, but something I don't want to
We make
speak.
appropriations to the military, so.
Yeah, so like, do you get your grant from the military, probably from the military.
Yeah, I'm gonna defer that question to our wing commander because that's,
It's okay, we don't.
We don't,
but next year, I'll be back.
don't tell us we like credit
Oh,
by mistake.
well, which reminds me, I usually lead with the ask. I forgot to do that. So my ask is two things. One is that you pass this on to your colleagues, this information here in these packets. The other thing is that you visit. I'm going to be doing a lot more outreach to the public and to all of you. And in particular, and this is kind of the center point of why I want to talk to you. This is an example. I actually don't have, oh, I think you have a copy of it. Yeah. This is a sample. This is a prototype, or not prototype. It's an experiment I did in Springfield to see what kind of public, not just public support I can get for an aerospace education open house, and it was fantastic. We had the Dartmouth Hitchcock helicopter, the Dart helicopter, come and do demonstrations. We had the National Aerobatics Club show up with a few pilots to talk to whoever wanted to, talk to them about flying. Emergency services folks were there, so it was both a cadet and open to the public opportunity, which I'm going to, now that I know this works, I plan to do this throughout the state on our bases.
Yeah, if you don't let us know about when you do them, let us know.
Oh, yeah, I will. So it's kind of heads up that's happening. Oh, by the way, I really have kind of a third one, or not an ask, but I have an assignment for you, which is go home and you can have your a child, grandchild, whatever, help you with this. Build one of these things without the propeller. That's too complicated. But build one to the best you can, nice and neat as you can. Go find a hallway. You stand on one end of the hallway and see if you can hit the other side. Chances are you'll never get it. What I want to invite you to do is go to one of my workshops on the basics of aviation, or basics of aeronautics, and learn how to actually control this and paper airplanes, make them do what you want, as a demonstration of how flight works. It's a blast. I did this with a Riverside Middle School of 90 students. It was a blast, and that's the other thing I plan on doing with these. Have not just come and watch, but actually hands-on stuff as well.
Well, I carpool with a former Navy pilot.
Really?
Oh, is he Scott?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
and he was telling about how they took one of their airplanes that doesn't have any of the same equipment, and it does have the tail hook,
Mhm.
and his commanding officer flew into Aspen Airport, Aspen, Colorado. And he was saying, the old brakes were red hot. It was a very short, and because they don't have the same reverse and all that. So I was hearing about airplanes this morning on the way in, because normally they're landing on carriers. They hook them on the tails and stuff. But so I have a question. Where are you based? If you have planes, where are they based? And your office is where? I'm looking here, it says contact Jennifer.
Oh, that was
I have
a
no idea.
specific Springfield. Okay,
I know.
I'm holding back the chuckling here because my cadets here, they've got a whole list
So
of
are
stuff they want to
that's
tell
all
you.
pilots, right?
Okay, so let me answer your question first, which is we have 5 locations. Our headquarters is in Burlington. And we do have the airports I mentioned, we have bases in all of them. Edward Knapp here, Burlington, Berlin, Springfield's got that one, Bennington has one, Rutland has one. So there are actual physical locations and all of them have hangars. So I'm drifting a little bit off the road here a little with regards to transportation, but so the Air Force has pretty clear, which is we need a certain amount of hours we need to fly a certain amount of hours to have a certain amount of airplanes. So right now we have 2 airplanes, and we're be given a third to the Air Force. I forgot. Sorry, I forgot that. So our budget, the Air Force provides airplanes, trucks, vans, radio infrastructure, which probably not aware, but we have a pretty significant radio infrastructure of our own in Vermont. And so that's paid for ultimately by the Air Force. In fact, that's what's covered. Oh, that's what's covered.
Right, yeah, I'll read that. Okay.
And wait, can I answer the question? Those are our 5 bases. We have 5 hangars, and we keep saying 2.5 airplanes. But it's a kind of a chicken and egg thing, which is, okay, guys, if you want more airplanes, fly more hours. But we need the airplanes to fly the hours. And so they're saying, okay, fine, here's a third one. And now I'm not in charge of the airplane flying part of it. I'm in charge of getting, well, ultimately it's recruitment, but a lot of interest, perhaps the families and yourselves to really, what I really want to say in this particular committee is that I want to make airports destination locations. Because what we do for the public pulls in a lot of folks from outside. Ultimately, we're hoping people will sign up for it, because the more people we have, the more pilots we have, the more flying we can do. So didn't mean to get into that loop here, but that is that's a reality of it. So the support of the airports supports us and helps us with our goals and such.
So if we have more questions, do you want us to ask the cadets, or do you want-
They're kind of dying to talk. So I'm gonna hand it off. Are there any specific questions you have for the cadets?
Well,
We might,
you
you
don't
want to do it from,
have to be a pilot, it said, to be a member. They do not,
That is correct.
most do not fly. And other volunteer, I mean, just looking here.
and I guess we could just do, rather than sitting over there, I guess if people hadn't stole our other chairs, we'd have them come down to the end of the room, but
Yeah. Should we move?
I think it's fine, because we don't have 3 chairs down there for them to sit in, so we'll just have them stay over
I'm
there.
gonna hand it off to Cadet Captain Gallagher to answer this question and open it up to others. So
Just a bit of background, I'm very aerospace focused. I am a pilot and a aircraft mechanic. So a lot of what the Civil Air Patrol's aircraft are used for, at least statewide, is on both ends of cadets and seniors. So on the senior side, it's used for a lot of search and rescue exercises. It's used for aerial photography. I believe one of the examples here was used for aerial photography during the flood. So in terms of senior end, it's used a lot for photography, it's used a lot for exercises. And on the cadet side of things, it's used mostly for education and exposure to aviation. So each cadet gets a total of 10 flight hours, 5 of which are powered, 5 of which are glider. We have
When you say you get a training, or you get to do it once you become a pilot, once you get your license?
it's not, most cadets don't get their licenses. License is very much by choice, and the flight hours are provided through CAP as a exposure to aviation. And depending on how interested in aviation a cadet is, they can get more direct training. So in terms of the O flights, which are orientation flights, there are 5 for powered, which takes you from inspecting the aircraft up to landings. And on the glider end, same thing with gliders. We have the Regional Glider Academy is down in Springfield Airport, and our squadron has, I believe do we have one or both of the? Yeah. We have
one is based in Burlington and the other one floats.
So one of the aircraft is specifically held at our squadron. The other one travels around depending on where it's needed.
When you say our squadron, is it like the Burlington?
Burlington
Squadron, yes.
Each airport has a squadron?
Not every airport has a squadron, but many of them do have it.
The 5 that I mentioned has at least one squadron, and Burlington's got all adult, which is called a senior squadron in a cadet.
Okay, Senator Ingalls says.
So are you commissioned? What do you do? I mean,
No,
is this,
we're all volunteers, sir.
so you're volunteer, so you do this as a volunteer basis?
Yes, sir. None of us are paid. We're all here voluntarily, and
In all high school. So what's the age?
cadets are usually high school. Some middle school. Technically, you can go from 12 to 21. Most people go off to college before they turn 21, but those are our serve ages.
Okay.
In terms of senior members, anyone from 18 to however old people get. So
How old do people get?
100.
Ours lasts a
So,
long time, actually.
What do you, sure you, all three are in school?
supposed to be right now, sir.
So what are your goals? What are you guys, I know one of you, I talked earlier, was, going to engineering.
Yes, sir.
Yep, and
Aircraft mechanic.
I'm planning to go into a flight, sir.
And there are also a very wide range of what cadets are interested in. A lot of them come for the aviation and find other interests outside of it. Some people come for emergency services, get interested in aviation. It's essentially just a bunch of people with similar interests of servant leadership, aerospace, emergency services, and then opportunities come from there.
So what got you interested to volunteer? I gather you're all volunteers.
Oh.
So,
All 65,000 of us are volunteers.
so I was just wondering, for the three of you, what was the reason that you were interested in volunteering?
Yeah, so for me, it was like professional development. So I want to move into like engineering in the professional corporate environment. So for me, it was, how do you carry out an interview? How do you make a presentation? How do you make a slideshow? Yeah, and so that, I'm a captain. And for every single promotion that we have certain requirements. And so that looks like giving a presentation, giving classes. So that professional exposure.
Almost like becoming an Eagle Scout, only in
A little different.
a little different, but in terms of doing
Yes.
certain projects and build on those.
We try to avoid going over to comparison with the scout program.
It
Oh, I'm
is,
sorry, I didn't hear.
It's okay. No, it's completely
I see, huh?
You
What?
touched a nerve.
It's fairly common.
No, I didn't mean it in the same way. I meant it's analogous in terms of the.
it's merit-based. It's a merit-based program.
And you complete different projects and move up through.
Well, that's what they're wearing on their blouses there. The pin, the ribbons, all that, everything on their uniform represents.
So are you all in college?
High school.
Or still high school? Oh, wow.
Because when you're in college, you usually don't stay in that, or you would be a senior
Depends on the
member.
person. A lot of people go out of state for college, and college is a very busy time. So a lot of people will leave the program when they go to college. Some people stay, but a lot of people end up going to either college full-time or end up in
So
workforce.
you're going into engineering, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So where have you,
So I'm actually a junior this year.
oh, so you got another year?
Yeah, I'm looking at schools right now.
I'm a freshman. You're a
Okay.
freshman.
So you got.
Junior.
And how many, what is your volunteer hours? Like, how much time do you spend doing civil air patrol in a week?
Depends on the person. I think usually like 4-ish hours, depending on what's happening. More if there's an event.
So we have weekly squadron meetings. Usually it's from like 6:30 to 6 to 8:30 p.m.s on certain days, and we usually have at least one Saturday activity, which that could be the hours on that could vary. So it's at least 2 to 3 hours a week.
We also have a total of 70 cadets in the wing, half of which are from our squadron.
Okay.
But
And the wing is the whole state.
wing is the whole state, yes, sir. So in terms of the airspace itself, a lot of people end up coming for either aerospace or something along those lines and have 5 available flights for powered aircraft, which ends up meaning that our aircraft are used for giving cadets the opportunity to fly, to see either if they are or aren't interested in it, and get exposure to possibilities for either careers or hobbies.
So you said you have a pilot's license.
Yes, ma'am.
So did you have to do private lessons?
Yes. I do a lot with aviation, so I do a lot outside of CAP. I'm personally working at Franklin County Airport as a mechanic there,
Mhm.
and I get a lot of my flight hours just through them. But I've also gone to our regional flight academy. So I went down to New York earlier this summer, was able to fly with them, got a bunch of, when I was there, that's where I got my FAA written test done. I got a bunch of my qualifications done for my pilot license. It really depends on where
And
someone
those
wants to
that
go.
are in South Burlington, or maybe others, have any connection with Beta Technologies?
I work there, so yes.
Yeah,
But also the CTE Center has, don't they have courses as
well, that's what I
well?
wondered, is CT, are they still doing the pilot program?
Mechanics.
They are. There are currently 2 aerospace maintenance programs. One of them is college, one of them is high school. So
Where's the high school program in?
the high school program is Burlington Tech, and the college program is through Vermont State.
And so you earn,
Yeah, VTC.
so you earn rank and accommodations, you're doing that a lot on yourselves, on your own. And there's obviously a structure for you to, you know, get one of your pins and all that. So how does that whole structure work? Far as to you become a captain, how did you become a captain?
Yes, so like really we have this thing called the super chart. Basically, for every promotion, it goes down the line and it gives you a list of requirements that you have to meet. So that looks like PT, leadership. We have leadership and like professional development books, as well as aerospace books. And so really it's just all those categories. And as you take these tests, either online or written, then you like go through your leadership development. And we all have they're like sections of the super chart. So you have the initial phase, which is when you like learn to become a follower. You have the secondary stage, which is where you learn to take responsibility for the people directly below you. And then you have the higher phases where you learn how to like indirect leadership. And yeah, so that's once you get up to captain, yeah.
So do you have, like, for example, you're taking where you assist in emergencies. So do any of the requirements as you kind of move up, are you getting certifications like in search and rescue, wilderness first responder? I don't know whether, are you woofers or?
Those are optional usually. So for promotions directly, there are a couple of very basic things you have to do of leadership tests or leadership experiences, and then aerospace, and then like physical tests. Beyond that, there are also special qualifications depending on what you're interested in. There are different qualifications for aerospace. We have like a bunch of different sections in there. We have a bunch of different ones for emergency services. We have ICUT training, which is radios and communications.
So do you get certifications? I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
Yes,
Do you
have, yes.
get your credentials, for example, that you can use either?
Yes,
Okay.
so like, for example, she's got the pilot wings and I've got the ground team badge. So
I
that's,
have a monologue picture too.
Oh, okay.
so that's like,
Oh,
Really depends on what you're interested in, but yes, there are qualifications. There are CAP specific qualifications, and then there are also wider qualifications that you get through CAP.
I want you to keep asking. I want to just kind of make a point here too. So there's overlaps where you can get certifications that are outside, recognizable certifications outside of Civil Air Patrol.
yeah, I guess that's what I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
so yes, we touch on that, but there is one of the things, this is a long road here, but so much of what we do, I believe, can be transferable into the public school system. But that's a big nut to crack. We all just recently got a Secretary of Education, I understand. Sort of, I know, kind of in the process, but Secretary French was a huge supporter of ours. And so I just want to throw that in the mix here, is that we do so much on that is, I believe, personally believe, is transferable into the other side of the fence in terms of certifications and school credits and things of that nature. But what we need is a champion for that. So I just want to touch on that. I'm not prepared to go to talk about it any deeper. I'm not ready for that. But
Yeah.
that is there. This huge resource that the taxpayers, well, with the exception of what's on here, the bulk of what we do is volunteer work. So you're getting all of this for free, and but it's not fully being credited or applied to the real world.
But it could be like flexible pathways. I don't know if any of you have gotten credit for your CAP work. in your schooling on a flexible pathways kind of?
Yes.
Do some CAP students, cadets get credit for it?
I have not like through school, but like in the corporate environment, then yes. Like for example, once you get to second lieutenant, if you join the Air Force, you join as an E3. So because of that exposure and that training, you actually join as a higher rank.
Do a lot of cadets join the military? Like, do you know what the percentage is from Vermonters?
I'm not sure about the percentage, but a lot of our cadets have gone on to like National Guard or military.
I'll make a couple comments there.
Or ROTC if you're gonna be in college?
Yeah, it's very individual, so that's also a very cadet-based thing, but a lot of our cadets do. Many of us also tend to lean towards more like civil or humanitarian stuff, but we do have military cadets, yes.
So you mentioned ROTC, especially with the Air Force ROTC, they look very favorably upon CAP officers that apply for those. So through that, cadets who want to get into the military, that's a very good pathway for those cadets.
And it's because it's hard to get into become a flight path in the Air Force. So if you wanted to become a pilot in the Air Force, would be helpful.
Absolutely.
Very sad.
Yes, I want to throw a couple of points in here. So we don't track who ends up in the military in our wing. I can tell you a few things that I believe it's something like 14% of the cadets who go into the military academy are had Civil Air Patrol background. But I really want to point out that the bulk of the cadets who end up in the military join Civil Air Patrol because they want to go into the military. And the rest of them kind of disperse into different directions for the most part. One of the things I will occasionally run into, I don't think I said this yet, we will occasionally run into parents who are a little squeamish or concerned about their 12-year-old who wants to go into the military. Is this really a good fit? Is it going to work? What I say is, try before you buy. Have them sign up for Civil Air Patrol. They go through the very similar structure as the Air Force. I mean, our training is based on Air Force parameters. And if they don't like it, they can quit. There's no penalty. You know, you're not signing up for anything. If it just doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. But most importantly, I want to point out that there's a belief, a tendency to believe that you join Civil Air Patrol and it pushes you into the military. That is not at all the case.
It's also important to mention that the cadets who are still interested in the military have that background of now they know sort of how it works. Now they have some qualifications going into it. So if it's not for them, fine. But if it is for them, they get a little bit of exposure to this is what it could be like, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to go with this. So either they can decide, no, this isn't for me, or they can have a little bit more of an idea of this is where I want to go through here.
Okay, Sedershin, did you?
I think I recall on the tour, you had a lot of kits, expensive equipment that is used for educational purposes that you loan out to schools. Is that a part of what you all do?
I am so glad you said that. We do not loan them out. We give them to them.
Oh.
So we have something called an Aerospace Education Member Program. And for a one-time fee of $35 to register, an educator, which could be public school, homeschool, librarian, scout master, anything, scout leader, those are educators, have almost full access to our curriculum and STEM kit program. The way it works is once you pay your $35, as long as you renew for free every year, you're in for free. Everything's free after that. And so the way the program works is all the curriculum and workbooks and printed stuff is online. You can download the whole digital library on day one. For the STEM kits, you order one, you use it, and then do a very simple report afterwards to show how it went. And then once you're done with that report, you're now eligible for the next one, and you keep the first one. And theoretically, you can end up with our entire inventory as long as you use it.
I have a question for each of you. So here, like if you had a freshman came up to you and said, you know, should I join the Civil Air Patrol? What would you say to them? Why they should? I'm assuming you said that they should because you wouldn't be here. But what would you tell the young student why they should stay the Civil Air Patrol?
Well, I would say absolutely yes. And the reason why would be is that CAP prepares you in so many ways for your adult life and professional development. You get that discipline with our drill. You get so many opportunities to go to week-long or multi-week workshops around the country. Like you could go to like engineering school or a flight academy or a ranger training school. It also gives you professionalism and like applying for staff positions within the squadron. It gives you that resume. You have to have a resume that it trains you for that, and it makes you stand above the rest of average job applications. That's what I would say.
Yeah, so like exactly what he said, I'll add to it. So I actually went to a civil engineering academy down in Florida this summer. So I got down there, and it was the Air Force civil engineers. I got down there and they showed us all this. We lived in their tents, we ate MREs, and I went, oh my goodness, I hate this. This is horrible. I do not want to do this. And so I was actually considering going into civil engineering. And I was like, this is horrible. So I started doing more research, and I'm like, okay, mechanical is something that interests me. Industrial engineering, production, that's something that interests me. So now I'm looking at programs for like industrial engineering, potentially like business management, and like business and engineering. So the exposure to that and like trying out the waters a little bit of the corporate workplace, like that's exactly why someone should try CAP.
It gives you a lot of exposure to different ways of not only leadership, but also topics within leadership. Of if you're planning on being a project manager or something, you get a chance to sort of see how that works, if it is or isn't for you. And for better or worse, you get to decide what interests you, and you get to try things out. If you end up deciding something isn't for you, it's better than putting a couple $1,000s down the drain and getting college education for something that you might not enjoy. It gives you a chance to sort of see and test the waters of, is this something I'm interested in? Do I enjoy this? And also, if it does interest you, it gives you some of that exposure early on to understand this is how this works. So when you're thrown into the actual environment, you aren't so caught off guard of, I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know I needed this certification first. It gives you a chance to not only acclimate to things that you are interested in, but also gives you a chance to step back and see, is this something I want? What do I want to do from here?
This seems like very mature answers. I assume you guys are kind of precocious as far as your peers. That I wondered if there's also like just a cool factor that you'd sell as part of this. I mean, I assumed a lot of young people that I knew a couple guys in the Civil Air Patrol where I grew up, but it was just, people are interested in planes, and especially with Beta Technologies. I don't know if that's part of it. I just feel like how many ninth graders are worried about the professional development. I don't know if you find that they're more, and I'm just,
May I
a
answer?
person that's out of touch, or is there more of a connection?
May I answer that question?
Sure.
It's a two-parter. One, come see it for yourself. But the other thing is that
You're not too old, you could join Center
You-
for like,
That's true. Basically, you're right.
for your professional development.
Yes.
Oh, your next.
Maybe you would have my resume.
well, what I tell people, I get similar questions like that all the time. And what I say is that we have a word for this. It's called normal. Come visit our squadrons anytime. What you'll see, you walk in the door and you'll see from 12 to 18, these young adults standing up straight, looking in the eye and saying, good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am.
Well, adults like that, but is that an impression that's both on a ninth grader?
Depends on the person, sir.
Well, I went back, yeah.
This is also very much a volunteer-based, if you want to come, you do.
Right.
So we have like 3 weeks where cadets can show up to meetings and decide, is this something I'm interested in? In which case, a lot of the cadets who do end up joining are people who are interested in the professional development of it. I personally came just for the aerospace. I like planes, that's what I showed up for. But I ended up getting a lot more interested in the leadership side of things and the more professional development side because of exposure through CAP. So you can either start as someone who's not interested in any of it and find your interest, or you have something and find interest in other aspects. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mr. Chipman.
Just realized we haven't heard from this gentleman. Can you tell us about your role with CAP and how long you've been with them?
Sure, I've been with CAP almost a year now. I joined because I was the dad who drops the cadets off and picks them up.
Is that why we have two, David and Stephen here?
Yes, I
Yes, we understand
understand.
Yeah,
So I was approached because my son ratted me out. I'm a pastor down in Rutland area, and there's kind of a character development aspect that we have through Civil Air Patrol. And those are based upon our core principles that are also kind of evolved, if you will, out of the Air Force core principles. And basically that was my role. I was approached, hey, we need people to serve in these roles in just kind of an ecumenical sense, wonderful type of opportunities to serve. And that's how I got involved. But I have, just kind of echoing what they're saying, I have another one of my children who's a 7th grader who's just joined Civil Air Patrol back in the summertime. And, you know, one of the things is my son here sitting before you today is very much a type A kind of guy. He's outspoken. He's not afraid to get up in front of people. My daughter very much doesn't like being in the crowd in front of people, but some of it's confidence building. You know, they're getting life skills like how do you have an intelligent conversation in a room full of people and not melt into a puddle. And I think it's just great to see several of our cadets in Rutland, at least I can just speak from that experience, they come in as younger middle school students who, I mean, they're just not sure of themselves at all, but they find this community at Civil Air Patrol. They get involved, they're encouraged, they're helpfully, lovingly critiqued on, hey, you can do it a little bit better this way. I mean, just see them blossom in the area. So my daughter joined in the summertime, wasn't sure she was gonna stick it out through the rest of the summer, and now she's saying, oh, I love this, and I'm glad I joined it, and I'm gonna go another year. So it's just kind of cool to see how, and I'm, you know, just one little small part of that, but it's so multifaceted in helping them kind of become well-rounded individuals and kind of feeling out like, what do you like? And finding their little niche in the world and kind of excelling in that. So,
well, thanks, Peter.
thank you.
Building on what you said, so experience is first-handed from Rutland. We have quite a handful of very new cadets. When they first came in, they were very unsure of themselves, but within like the first 2 months, we've trained them, and now they have the confidence to get up and give a presentation to their fellow cadets, and they have that camaraderie. Personally, I'm practically in charge of them, and I'm pushing them to test their limits and to get them to feel more confident of themselves. So someday when I'm not here anymore, they'll be running, and you just want to keep cycling through and building character in all the aspects.
Yeah, I think more public speaking is definitely needed, and it's part of the whole having a functional democracy, I think. So it's a good role. I think that you guys do a good skill you're learning.
Yeah, there's also a lot of chances for cadets to learn public speaking skills. In terms of like classes, we do airspace education on emergency services and all that. So cadets are the ones teaching this class to their fellow cadets. Cadets sign up for opportunities to teach fellow cadets what they know, and from there, those other cadets come into that role to teach their peers. And also on the officer side, we don't take the same tests as like NCOs and other cadets do. We do written documents of things like resumes, of things like media release forms, of a bunch of different types of more technical documents, and then present that to seniors as part of our promotions, which ends up getting the cadets who weren't necessarily super comfortable with their public speaking forced into that role of, now there's this chance in this place to present something that they personally worked on, and much more opportunities for growth of, you have these chances, you have a much more open environment of, there are do-overs, rather than going into a, like after college or something, a very hard-hitting professional world of, this is your job, this is your presentation, what are you doing? it gives chances for cadets to learn and understand that before having to decide where they're going.
Great. Any other questions, or if there's any other last things you want to tell us, or questions we didn't ask?
Around the state, so you're from Rutland, you're from
Burlington.
Burlington, and you're from
South Burlington.
South Burlington.
Well, we're really, this committee, I think it speaks to the committee that we're excited about Beta Technologies. We're excited about that growing the aerospace sector of our economy. We're supportive of the role that aviation can play here. So we're really excited to see young people that are interested in it. And I think the STEM part of it is very important for our society, so as well as the so we're very, I think we're supportive. Let us know how else we can be helpful on CTE or other parts. You know, we can serve on education, so if there's things that we can do there, or however we can be helpful, or however we can help the cadets, just let us know.
One last bit in closing, then what I'll say is that you may have heard that Beta Technology and the Vermont Aviators Association is putting on an event in Burlington in September 14th and 15th called Green Mountain Aviation Field Days. It's going to be a 2-day expo. Civil Air Patrol is responsible, or more precisely, I am responsible for the STEM and education portion of that. So I want to extend an early invitation to stop by that event. I mean,
We'll be up
it's
there or something.
in Burlington, the airport, yeah.
Great.
And on behalf of my wing, thank you very much for giving us this time. And if you guys are, anything else you'd like to add or in closing? We're good?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Put in a good word for House transportation.
Please.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.